Good afternoon, YouTube. This is the Degenerate Duelist signing in, coming at you with the Spice. This is a deck I like to call the Amazing Geist. It's a very fun deck, very interactive, and it makes people go ree! So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. To start things out, we're going to play 3 copies of our best boy, Multi-Faker. If you activate a trap at any time during resolution, you're able to summon him from your hand. If he's summoned from any means, either through graveyard or its own effect summoning from hand, or if you have another effect that lets you summon him, once he's special summoned, you get to special summon any Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position, but it's not really too much of an issue when you know you're summoning Silquitus or one of the good boys to help back up Silquitus. Next, we're going to be playing 3 copies of our good boy, Marionette. Marionette says that when it's summoned, you get to set an Altergeist trap from your deck directly to the field, so can't ash that. It also has an effect that lets you send it from field to graveyard to special summon any Altergeist monster from the graveyard. Usually you're going to special summon the Faker if your opponent destroyed it, but there's also always other good choices, like our good friend Melusique. Melusique is one of our best boys. When you normal him, if you're going second, you can attack directly using this monster, and if this monster does battle damage to your opponent, you can target one card they control and send it to graveyard. So it's a nice little board clearer. Then once it's sent to graveyard by any means, then you get to add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. So another way to access our Multi-Faker. Next, we play the 2 copies of our Altergeist Silquitus. Silquitus is usually what we're summoning off of the Multi-Faker. Silquitus is a quick effect that says you can target one Altergeist card, so it could even be the traps. Bounce it to hand, and then you can bounce one monster your opponent controls that you targeted also, and bounce that card to hand. If this card is set to graveyard, you can target one Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to hand. So it helps you be able to recur your protocol or maybe the manifestation if you didn't properly loop it. So that's the end of our Altergeist monsters. Now we play the Spice Engine. We play 3 copies of the Bay, our attendant Comica. Much like Marionette, she has a setting effect that can't be ashed. Instead of setting an Altergeist card, she sets one attraction trap from your deck to the field. She also has a quick effect that says that you can target one attraction trap that's equipped to a monster and re-equip it to any monster that it can be equipped to. And that equip is non-target. So if your opponent has a Dragoons on field and you have Horror House equipped to her or another monster, you can re-equip that Horror House to Dragoons, so that way you can Book of Moon them and then use Silquitus to bounce them to hand. Done it many times. People get very mad when you do it. It's beautiful. Next, we play our 2nd type of Multi-Faker, Mr. Admin Arriquino. He says that when a trap is activated by either player during resolution, he can summon himself to field. Then, when your opponent summons a monster, either by normal or special summoning a monster, once per turn, he can equip an attraction trap, any attraction trap, to that monster. And if you have Comica on field, this lets you turbo out any of your attractions that you want or that you might need at any given time. So you can get the one that shuffles from the graveyard back to the deck, the Rhoda / spell or trap removal, or you can get your Infinite Impermanence / Book of Moon. So it's a very, very nice card, and he's a big boy. He also has a really great effect that says that you can banish any number of attraction traps from your graveyard and target that many cards your opponent controls and destroy them. Now, if your opponent manages to offset the number, it can fizzle out the effect, but the fact that it helps out Geist with one of the biggest problems that they had with clearing boards, it makes it well worth it. Plus, if you do not have the Multi-Faker in hand, this at least lets you have something to be able to play with your traps and still gain advantage, or be able to use your opponent's traps against them. Next, we play 3 copies of Forehead, Miss Ash Blossom. Generic hand trap, we all know what she does. Stops something from being special summoned from the deck, sent to graveyard, or added to hand. Next is Off to the Spells, and honestly my favorite card, Amazing time ticket. Next, we play 3 copies of Prosperities. I like this because it helps us be able to see all of the cards that we need. Any card we happen to be missing, that helps us get to it and make sure that we get it. Or that we get some extra good little fun stuff. Plus, we don't really need our extra deck. Once we get to the extra deck, you'll see it's just a bunch of generic stuff, plus the only 4 cards that actually matter. So that ends our spell lineup. Now, off to the traps, which we play 3 copies of Protocol. Protocol makes sure that all of our Altergeist stuff goes through because it says that they cannot be negated. So that is amazing. Generally, if you already have it set and you didn't set it off Marionette, it's great when your opponent thinks that they're going to Ash the Multi-Faker's special summon. Then you go ahead and say, flip, nope, and it's done. It also has a negation effect where it says that if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send one Altergeist monster you control to the graveyard and negate the activation and destroy it. Next, we play 1 copy of Manifestation. Some builds play 2, but generally with the amount of other stuff that we have in here, we only need the 1. You can loop it off of using the Spoofing, or you can loop it off of just bouncing it as cost back to hand. After you activate it to special summon an Altergeist from the grave, you use Silquitus, activate it in the same chain link to bounce it back to hand, and now that monster comes to the field and it doesn't get destroyed on end phase. Or on the, after the manifestation leaves the field, excuse me. Next, we play Shia Spoofing. 2 copies, all we need. This is gonna help us be able to get to our Altergeist cards that we need. Another great way to get to Faker. And we play the 3 copies of Horror House, one of our first amazing attraction traps. This card, if it's bound to one of your attraction monsters, it's an infinite impermanence. And you get to keep reusing it each turn. Not multiple times the same turn. Also, its effect is a hard once per turn, so if you use one of the effects, you can't use its second effect in the same turn. But if it's bound to an opponent's monster, flips it face down. This is our Book of Moon. If it's bound to your monster, it's an infinite impermanence for one of theirs. Next, we play 3 copies of Cyclocoaster. When it's bound to an opponent's monster, it's a Rhoda for you, allowing you to add 1 attraction monster, or 1 amazement monster, excuse me, from your deck to your hand. Or if it's bound to one of your attraction or amazement monsters, excuse me, I don't know why I keep saying that, then it's a MST and lets it blow itself up and one of your opponent's spell or traps. Great to get over that Mystic Mine if you already have an established field and you can't be able to get out of it using just the Spoofing. This lets you get over that Mystic Mine. This lets you get over that pesky Schism. It lets you get over all the good stuff. Then we play the 1 copy of Rapid Racing. If it's bound to an opponent's monster, it manipulates the level, increasing it and switching it to defense position. So if you know your opponent's going to go for a synchro play and it's a really key card, this lets you mess with their levels so that way they don't get that really boss-ass savage. Also, it makes it so that way if it's bound to one of your monsters, if they send any card to the graveyard or any card is in the graveyard, you can switch one of your monsters to defense position and that card gets shuffled back into the deck. So it's like a unicorn for the grave. Then we play the 3 copies of our Infinite Impermanence, because during their turn we want to make sure we stop them as best as we can. And best part about it is if you have either Admin or Multi-Faker in your hand while you use this on your turn or theirs to be able to try to stop the field just as you're setting up on your turn, or stop them as they're setting up, guess what? It triggers Arriquino and or it triggers Multi-Faker. A really big thing to note is that you cannot use both Multi-Faker and Admin in the same turn, because Multi-Faker has a condition where it says that if you use his effect to summon him, only Altergeist monsters may be special summoned to the field. So, very important to note, you can cause an irreparable game state or get yourself a loss if you end up ignoring that. Next, we play another one of our board wipers. 3 copies of the Torrential. This is nice because if you know that you have Admin or Multi-Faker in hand and you just set 5 or set 4 pass, or even set 2 in some instances. You're set because you can set this bad boy and clear their whole board and then set up your board. Then we play the 2 copies of Strike to make sure our Torrential goes through or negate a monster effect or summoning. That's all for the monsters. Then, off to our extra deck. 3 Linkaribos, standard for the Melusique, and the Almirage, just to be able to give that Arlecchino a good support. We play the Nightmare Phoenix, Cerberus, and Unicorn for removal of spells, monsters, and either or. Then we play Kid Olga, triple Hextia, and the 1 Prim Banshee. In all honesty, only 1 Hextia is kept. The rest is sent off of the Prosperity. And then our flex spots is the Sword, the Axis Code, and Baguska. This ends our lineup for the deck. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. It's a very fun deck, very interactive, and I know you guys will love it. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, sorry, but COVID was really a pain for everybody. I hope everybody is doing well and that everybody is staying safe in these troubling times. This is the Degenerate Duelist signing out, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.